My dad left me his house. My stepmother told everyone she owned it until she tried to sell it without reading the will. I never thought my own family would hold a fake funeral for me. Yet somehow, that's exactly what happened. I'm Olivia, 29, from Buffalo, New York. 3 years ago, my dad passed away after a long battle with cancer. It wasn't unexpected, but nothing prepares you for watching your last parent disappear. My mom had died when I was 16, and after that it had always been just Dad and me. Then he married Karen. If you've ever met someone who could smile while quietly ruining your life, you've met someone like Karen. To everyone else, she was generous, thoughtful, and always volunteering at church. Behind closed doors, she treated every conversation like a business negotiation. Nothing was ever done out of kindness. Everything had a price. Dad noticed it too. We talked about it more than once. About 6 months before he died, he invited me over for dinner. It was just the two of us, sitting on the back porch. "I need you to promise me something," he said. I laughed. "That depends." He didn't smile back. "When I'm gone, don't let anyone pressure you into signing anything." The sentence caught me off guard. "What do you mean?" He looked toward the kitchen window to make sure Karen couldn't hear us. "I've already updated my will. I've handled everything. You don't owe anyone explanations." At the time, I thought he was simply trying to avoid family arguments. I promised him anyway. 2 weeks later, he handed me a small sealed envelope. "Don't open this unless something feels wrong." I slipped it into my desk drawer and completely forgot about it. Until after the funeral, Karen cried harder than anyone. She hugged relatives, thanked everyone for coming, talked nonstop about how difficult it would be to manage the house alone. Everyone pitied her, including me. For almost a month, I helped clean the house, organize paperwork, and cancel subscriptions Dad had forgotten about. Karen kept telling everyone the same thing. Michael wanted me to have the house. He always said this would be my forever home. Nobody questioned it. Why would they? She was his wife. Then little things started happening. Dad's watch disappeared. His fishing equipment was suddenly listed on Facebook Marketplace. His vintage record collection vanished from the living room. When I asked where everything had gone, Karen shrugged. "I'm simplifying." He would have wanted me to move on. Something didn't feel right. A week later, she asked me to come over. There was already a stack of papers waiting on the dining room table. "I just need one signature." "What is it?" "Just paperwork from the estate." I started reading. Halfway through the first page, I realized it wasn't estate paperwork at all. It was a document voluntarily giving up any future claim to my father's property. I looked up. "Why would I sign this?" Karen's smile didn't change. "Because it's the right thing to do." Dad wanted me to have everything. I pushed the papers back across the table. "If that's true, you don't need my signature." For the first time since the funeral, her smile disappeared. She stared at me for several long seconds, before quietly saying, "You have no idea what you're doing." I stood up and left. That night, I remembered the envelope Dad had given me. It was still sitting exactly where I'd left it. Inside was a handwritten note, only 3 sentences. "If Karen ever asks you to sign anything, don't. Call my attorney before speaking to anyone. The house belongs to you." I read the note 3 times. Then I looked at the business card folded underneath it. The attorney answered on the second ring. His first question made my blood run cold. "Olivia, has Karen already tried to get you to sign the house over to her?" I didn't sleep that night. The attorney, David Harper, asked me to meet him first thing the next morning. When I walked into his office, he didn't waste time. "Your father came to see me 6 months before he passed. He changed everything." David slid a folder across the desk. Inside was Dad's final will, the house, the land, his investment account, even the small cabin on Lake Erie. Everything had been left to me. Karen inherited one thing, a trust fund that paid her enough to live comfortably. As long as she continued living in the house, she could stay there for life. She just didn't own it. If she remarries or sells the property, David explained, the trust ends immediately. I suddenly understood why she'd wanted my signature. She wasn't trying to protect herself. She was trying to erase me. David looked exhausted. There's something else. He opened another folder. Karen had already called his office 4 times, each time claiming I had verbally agreed to transfer ownership, each time asking when the paperwork would be ready, each time being told the answer was no. When that failed, she came up with another plan. 3 days later, my cousin called me. Olivia, why is Karen telling everyone you moved to California? I didn't. She says you don't want anything to do with Dad's estate. I laughed, at first. Then another call came. Then another. Within a week, half the family believed I'd abandoned Buffalo and signed everything over to Karen. She'd even posted on Facebook, starting a new chapter. Michael always wanted me to have our forever home. Grateful for family respecting his wishes. Hundreds of comments. Congratulations. Heart emojis. People calling her so strong. I couldn't believe it. David advised me not to respond publicly. Let her talk, he said. People who lie this much usually become overconfident. He was right. About a month later, Karen listed the house for sale. Not quietly. She hired one of the biggest real estate agencies in Western New York. Professional photos, drone footage, an asking price of nearly $900,000. There was just one problem. She wasn't the owner. David smiled for the first time since I'd met him. Now we have her. The brokerage requested proof of ownership before closing. Karen submitted old property tax records with Dad's name still listed. The title company rejected them. She argued, demanded, threatened legal action. Then she forged a document claiming ownership had already transferred to her. That single decision changed everything, because forged estate documents aren't a civil issue. They're a felony. A detective contacted me 2 weeks later. They wanted copies of every email, every text, every document Karen had ever asked me to sign. As I forwarded everything over, one detective stopped typing. He looked up at me. Your father knew this might happen. I nodded. He left me a note. The detective smiled. Smart man. What none of us knew was that Karen still believed she was about to win. Karen acted like nothing had happened. She hosted open houses every weekend. She baked cookies before potential buyers arrived and proudly told them how much she loved the neighborhood. She even joked that she'd use the money to buy a beachfront condo in Florida. The offers started coming in fast. One buyer agreed to pay the full asking price. The closing date was scheduled for the following Friday. David called me the moment he found out. Don't do anything. Just let the process play out. I had no idea what he meant until closing day. Karen walked into the title company's office wearing a brand new designer suit. The buyers were already there. So was their realtor. Everyone expected to sign paperwork and celebrate. Instead, 2 detectives walked into the conference room. At first, Karen smiled politely. I think you're in the wrong office. One detective placed a folder on the table. We're actually here to speak with you. The room went silent. They showed her the forged ownership documents she'd submitted, the fake signatures, the altered estate paperwork, every email she'd sent claiming she legally owned the house. Karen immediately pointed at the realtor. There must be some misunderstanding. There is, the detective replied. You've been trying to sell a house you don't own. Her face turned completely white. She insisted my father had promised her everything. She claimed I had agreed to give her the property. Then she said I had changed my mind because I wanted more money. None of it mattered. The paperwork told the real story. The title company officially confirmed that I had been the legal owner from the day my father died. Karen never had ownership, not even for a single day. As the detectives escorted her out of the building, she turned toward me for the first time. You planned this. I couldn't believe she actually meant it. I quietly answered, No, my dad did. A month later, the criminal case ended with a plea agreement. Karen avoided prison, but she received probation, community service, and a permanent felony conviction for document fraud. She also had to repay thousands of dollars in legal fees. Most of the relatives who had believed her eventually called to apologize. Some admitted they'd never even asked for my side of the story. Others never contacted me again. I sold the house a year later. Not because I wanted the money, because every room reminded me of losing my dad. With part of the proceeds, I bought a smaller home outside Rochester. The rest went into savings and retirement. Sometimes I still think about the envelope Dad handed me 6 months before he died. If I'd ignored it, if I'd signed those papers without reading them, I would have lost everything he'd spent his entire life building. Before he passed away, Dad told me one sentence I'll never forget. The people who pressure you to sign quickly are usually the ones hoping you never read the fine print. Turns out, that wasn't just legal advice. It was the last lesson my father ever taught me.